Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So Donald Trump and Republicans and Democrats have been in, I guess you can say, meetings for DACA, essentially an immigration plan. It is possible, at the very least, Donald Trump has brought up this issue of potentially a grand bargain on immigration. This would include some level of border security in addition to essentially DACA recipients being brought and welcomed to the country. A friend of mine, a libertarian guy, him and I were having a conversation about immigration one day after DACA, after Donald Trump got rid of the DACA provision and gave Democrats and Republicans, essentially gave Congress months to come up with some decision. Now, I somewhat agreed with him on this, and I thought it was interesting in the way that we agreed. He said it would be a very strange and weird thing if it ends up being the Republican Party that resolves the issue of immigration. Think about that. Democrats use this as their wheelhouse for God knows how long. They scream about it for votes. Oh, they're going to kick you out the country. They're going to kick you out the country. And then you have Obama break records with the number of deportations. You have Donald Trump getting something like 30% of Hispanic men who are voting for him despite the stuff that he was saying about Hispanics. So now there are negotiations. And they're having a conversation. Kristen Gillibrand, the corporate choice, or one of the corporate likelies, or you could say potentials for president in 2020, or at least they've been mentioning her name, and she's been making rounds, being obsequious to cash, sucking up to donors. She tweeted this out. This is a breathtaking amount of hypocrisy in this tweet. Dreamers shouldn't be used as political pawns to pay for an absurd border wall. We shouldn't put hundreds of thousands of lives on the line just so the president can fill a hateful campaign promise. It's nonsense. We need to pass a Clean Dream Act now. Your party has been using blacks, immigrants, and everything else as political pawns for God knows how long. You've been obsequious to your donors. And in being obsequious to your donors, the last thing that you want to have a conversation about is issues of class, including you. So what do? You play up issues of identity. You squeeze identity. You hug every darkie you can find. And you make this argument that, look, we're going to be apathetic towards all of you, but we will be least worse than Republicans. The Republicans will come after you. They will kick you out the country worse than Obama kicked you out the country. They would bash you and all this other stuff. They will go after you. We will be apathetic. They created the DREAM Act, which essentially was a provision that allowed ignoring the law. They didn't solve the issue. This is my point. The Democrats had the capacity to solve this issue. At the very least, if you couldn't necessarily come out with a mass immigration plan, you at the very least, as president of the United States, could say, I am not going to allow these kids to go into a hostile presidency. I, as Barack Obama, am going to take action to make sure that the dreamers are in this country for good. He didn't do that. The president has the power to do that. The president didn't give a pardon in this way. Instead, he kicked the ball down the field. He understood that those people would be more motivated to vote for Hillary Clinton if this remained an open issue, in which case it's an issue that the Democrats never wanted to resolve and never was going to resolve. You're being used as pawns. The idea, dreamers shouldn't be used as political pawns. I agree. I agree. I specifically agree, meaning from your party. Your party, if you cared about this issue, you'd have resolved this issue. You had the House, the Senate, you had both, and the presidency. You had the power to resolve this issue. Even when Obama was on his way out, even when you lost all that power, you had the power to resolve this issue. It was a political pawn. It was a political football. Hispanics will be motivated to vote for us. Some of their families are dreamers. Some of the people who they work with, some of the people who they interact with are dreamers. We don't want those dreamers. We don't want our family members kicked out of the country. We don't want them being evicted out of the country in this way. We believe Donald Trump coming into that office saying many of them are, or most are rapists and drug dealers or rapists and murderers or whatever he was saying. We understand that that's going to be a hostile presidency. So yes, we're going to be motivated to vote for Hillary Clinton. Are you telling me that Democrats did not understand this calculation? Are you telling me that they also didn't understand the calculation that once they get out of power, that they can use the issue of immigration to beat Republicans over their head with as a club? They can hit them with it over and over and over again. Oh my God, you're kicking out the dreamers. Oh my God, you're going to evict these kids out the country. Oh my God, I can't believe you're going to do this. They had the power to make a difference. They chose not to use that power. Even when Obama was a lame duck president, he had the power to change this. He did not want to use the power. So when we're having this conversation about DACA, we're having this conversation with Republicans and everything else, did they not, meaning Democrats, know that the gun was loaded? Did they believe that a man who said that people came in as rapists and drug dealers was in any way going to not get rid of the DACA ruling? And by the way, there was a court case going against the DACA ruling that's one of the similar provisions that Obama put in was taken down, meaning that Trump, at this point, was being taken to court over this particular issue. And it's very likely that he might have lost the court case on that issue. And whatever you want to say about Trump, he kicked this back to Congress and made the point that I don't want to see these kids kicked out of the country. You can say that he didn't mean it. I don't necessarily know why you would say he didn't mean it. It seems like he meant it to me. I could be wrong. But either way, I guess my point in this is Democrats have used this as a football. Let's be very clear and be very honest about this. Gillibrand coming up with this hypocritical ass tweet, dreamers shouldn't be used as political pawns. Then you need to look around at your party. You need to look around at your party. They are being used as pawns. They're being used as pawns by you. And the irony of this, the amazing irony of this, is that it is very possible that Donald fucking Trump with the Republican Party may actually work out an immigration deal that's more expansive and that keeps these kids into the country. That is an utter failure of politics, meaning from the Democratic Party standpoint. And the moment that they take this issue off the table, if they take this issue off the table, this is now an issue that you can no longer go to and hit Republicans over the head with. Donald Trump has already said that I'll take the heat for whatever you guys come up with. Meaning, whatever we decide in this room, I'll abide by it. Now, Donald Trump lies flagrantly, so fair enough. And it doesn't seem like he was misunderstanding some of the things that were being said in the meeting, also fair enough. But if he abides by that, meaning if they work out a deal, and if they work out a deal that keeps the DACA recipients into the country and whatever else they come up with in regards to immigration, that would mean that the Republican Party, shocking the shit out of me to even say it, may come up with some level of comprehensive immigration, powered by the failure of the Democratic Party to deal with the issue of the DACA recipients. And the moment that that takes place, you understand that the club that you have with regards to immigration for some goes away. It goes away. To some degree, it goes away. I mean, granted, you still have this club that Republicans are gross, and so you can say they're less worse. But there is a different motivation to my cousin could be kicked out of the country. My uncle could be kicked out of the country. There may be an ICE raid that kicks in my door and grabs my nephew. That is a hell of a motivation to vote for a Democrat. And that is the motivation that Democrats have used for the past 20 years to encourage and blackmail Hispanics to vote for them. The methodology to get blacks is somewhat different. It's Republicans are terrifying. The racists are in that party, at the very least a hardcore 30%. And unless you want these people to come into office that's going to go after you, then you better vote Democrat. And for the longest time, blacks, for the most part, has assiduously voted Democrat. There weren't two parties, it was just one. Meaning, you didn't even see the other party. The other party in no way represented your interests. And there is a historical framework associated with the reason why African Americans vote Democrat. I'm saying Democrats use leverage points in order to get particular identities to vote for them. This is what I'm getting at. And in this particular case, immigration was being used as a leverage point to encourage Hispanics to vote for them. The argument and the conversation that Democrats continuously avoid, is the one on economics. They find to use any gimmick and every other thing that they can use to make this argument of least worse on the reason why you should vote for them. It is in Republicans' best interest to resolve this issue, which is why they may actually resolve this issue, which will be fucking amazing and an embarrassment for the other party. who's supposed to represent the interests of identity, at least at the very least from immigration standpoint. So we will see. Stay tuned. Kristen Gillibrand is full of shit on this. And the idea of political pawns, both parties have been using them as political pawns. Of course Donald Trump is going to use them as a political pawn to build that dumbass border wall. He made a campaign promise that he was going to build a big, beautiful wall. He was going to get Mexico to pay for it. Now, there's a certain amount of stupidity and incompetence in saying you're going to get Mexico to pay for a border wall that's completely unnecessary. But nevertheless, he said it. Mexico is not paying for the wall. But as a campaign promise, are you telling me that he's not motivated to get that wall built? Yes, he's going to get that wall built. And since he has you over a barrel, because you guys are the ones that care about the DACA recipients, he's going to do and use whatever leverage he can in the same way that you guys were using leverage to get those people to vote for you. The difference is he's using them as leverage to get something accomplished. Meaning to get the border wall accomplished. Yes, the border wall is unnecessary, but he's using them as leverage to get it accomplished. You were using their deportation, however, to scam for votes. I don't necessarily know which is worse. Neither case should be used as pawns. Both these are human beings that should be respected as such. But let's be honest, this is politics. And the fact that he has you over a barrel in this case means you will be building that border wall in the same way that you had Hispanics over a barrel with Donald Trump being a gun to their heads. Vote for the Democratic Party or else you're going to get Trump. Both of you guys have been playing politics with the immigration issue. That's my point. In this particular case, you will be building that border wall. You can write that shit in stone. That is my prediction. Now, whether that border wall gets melted down to a fence or something else because, you know, they need to be able to see across the fence and everything else, I don't know. But you will be building that border wall. And yes, he is playing politics with this issue, but you also were playing politics with this issue. So I will leave it at that. I don't like hypocrites, particularly in politics. And there's been an amazing upswing of hypocrites with Donald Trump taking office. And I'm talking about the other party on this. Oh, we got to protect the whistleblowers, even though we didn't really give two shits about the whistleblowers when Obama was putting them in jail for Espionage Act. Oh, we have to protect Hispanics. He's using this as a political football. In the same way that when you had the opportunity to do something about the Hispanic and immigration issue, you did squat. When Obama had the opportunity to make sure these people's lives were intact and not going into a rabid Republican Party, he did squat. You created somewhat of a legal fiction, or this kind of, it's almost like a protrusion in the legal apparatus that kept these kids in somewhat of a limbo as opposed to fixing the issue. I understand that they believe that the DACA thing was a good fix. I'm making the point that that good fix has now run into a buzzsaw. And ultimately, if you wanted to fix the issue, this incremental, okay, we're just going to kind of make this piecemeal thing. No, you should have solved the issue. If you cared about the issue, you should have solved the issue. That's my point. That's my point. They play politics. They play politics. I would have to believe that they were completely incompetent with regards to what was going to take place with Trump. Meaning that Trump was going to somehow hug Hispanics. That he was going to somehow keep this DACA thing going. Even though he ran his campaign hard right on immigration. They knew what was going to take place. And they knew this was going to be a weapon they can use to hit him over the head with. Well, it's very possible that Donald Trump is going to take this weapon from you. So, we will see. And don't feel bad. You still have least worst argument for other stuff like economics and this other stuff. But if Republicans have any sense at all, if Donald Trump has any sense at all, he would say, let's take this off the table. And he would come to some resolution with the DACA issue. And yes, Democrats will be building that border wall because they don't have a leg to stand on in regards to this negotiation. So, he's already said, I will take the heat for the hardliners. Whatever you guys come up with in this room, I will take the heat for it. I will sign my name to it at the end of it. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. What I will say is, Dreamers, Hispanics, do not be fooled by Democrats. Don't get me wrong, Republicans have no love for you, so don't misunderstand me. But do not be fooled by Democrats. You're a political tool and football for them. They weren't even willing to go to the mat for you in that last budget negotiations. So be aware of what's taking place. Yes, they're pretending as if they're standing up for you, but they're doing this purely for the sake of politics. This has nothing to do with real world in regards to how they feel at a gut level with protecting your interests. This is politics. So, yes, Donald Trump is using it as political football. Democrats did the exact same thing. Let's be honest. Be fair. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, everyone.